are all ready to get going. This is Karen Anderson, Director of Supporting Success for Children with Hearing Loss. I couldn't be happier to join you all today. I am just amazed and so pleased that we have over 150 people registered to listen to this webinar today. Obviously, the whole concept of providing captioning for students with hearing loss in their own classrooms is a big one. It's an important accommodation to consider, and it's an important feature of what we should think about when we're considering just how we can provide equal access to communication for these students who are hard of hearing and who are deaf. I'm ready to jump into my few slides here. I'm going to be setting the stage and going over some background information first, and then my partner in InteractStreamer is going to be providing more demonstrations. And so let's get kicked off here. Again, welcome to the webinar. We're here because you have a student with hearing loss, and we know that most students with hearing loss are now fully included in the general ed setting. They are in their classrooms, in their neighborhood schools, just like their neighbors and other students, many of which have some special needs. Well, unfortunately, the hearing devices worn by students with hearing loss do not restore normal hearing. In fact, if you put your fingers in your ears and listened to a talk radio show or listened to a TV program on such as a news program and listened over time, you would be experiencing just generally about the same amount of hearing loss a child that has really well-fit hearing aids experiences every day. That is considered a pretty good hearing aid fitting. So hearing devices do not restore normal hearing. And that means that students who are hard of hearing expend more energy to listen. And expending more energy leaves fewer cognitive resources for them to truly understand, and then fewer cognitive resources yet to remember what was said. So as students go up in the grades from elementary into middle school, the expectations for them to understand new vocabulary ramps up. And this can be a real challenge for these students who have a listening gap. By listening gap, I mean that the hearing devices they have just don't restore normal hearing. So they're always going to be missing some information, even if they're using state-of-the-art DM or FM hearing assistance technology devices. So it's really hard for our students to keep up as these expectations and the pace of the classroom increases over time. It's not unusual at all for us to see a widening academic gap or a gap in academic achievement over time because of this listening gap. So one of the things I want you to do is to look at the little yellow box at the bottom of this slide. What you see is a common children's story, and it has been changed so that it appears as though you have the listening ability of a child with about a 25 decibel hearing loss, which is very similar to having your ears plugged with your fingers. As you can see, a lot of the high-pitched sounds are missing. A lot of the unemphasized words are not there. The end of one word can smoosh or be joined together with the beginning of the next word. So, have you figured out what the story is yet? I'm going to go ahead and read you this story as though you didn't have a hearing loss. And as I do so, follow along and see the kinds of sounds that are missing. Once upon a time, a city mouse went to visit a country mouse. The country mouse lived in a field. He was glad to see his city friend. The two mice ran about the field and played until noon. Picture listening with that kind of hearing loss day in, day out in a classroom setting and experiencing this listening gap and the extra energy it would take for you to guess what you're missing all the time. So, Interact is a classroom accommodation. And we know that the Americans with Disabilities Act here in the United States specifies that schools must ensure that the communication of students with hearing loss is as effective as it is for peers, thereby affording them an equal opportunity to reach the same level of achievement as that provided to others. This is a really tall order, considering that our students who are hard of hearing will have a listening gap, and that the hearing devices we have just are not going to restore normal hearing. So in many cases, as these children become older and enter into secondary school, that missing information in some ways can only be provided by adding captioning or having this text available to them of what has been said in that classroom by the teacher or by the class peers. So the ADA requires that we provide this communication effectiveness by providing auxiliary aids and services. And in terms of children with hearing loss, this can mean sign language interpreters, it can mean that hearing assistance technology, and then captioning is also one of the auxiliary aids that can be provided. And the whole point is to try and level the playing field, trying to afford that equal opportunity for the same academic achievement as these children's cognitive peers would have. So Interact can certainly be used as a classroom accommodation for the purpose of leveling the playing field. Is captioning the right accommodation for every student with hearing loss? Absolutely not. There is no one accommodation that's a perfect fit for every child. And even amongst captioning, automated speech-to-text captioning like InteractStreamer is a good option, but it might not be the best option for your student. How can you find this out? One of the good ways is to give it a try. And that's one of the things that Rob and I will talk about further. We really value the concept of trying InteractStreamer as an accommodation, not just going out and buying it. We need to try it because that student, his acceptance, his motivation, and his real excitement to use this accommodation, use the app, and get that captioning in the classroom can make a world of difference. So the accommodation can be used as a primary accommodation, and this would occur when a child has really limited residual hearing and even might be considered a student who is deaf. And in that case, they really can't get enough auditorily to truly follow along with what that teacher is providing for verbal instruction. And so in that case, they would be looking at the captioning transcript as their primary way to access this information. Most of the time, students who try Interact AS don't use it as a primary accommodation. They use it as a secondary accommodation. This means that they're using their hearing devices and they are paying attention to that teacher. They're using their listening skills. Most of them have near typical language ability. They have near typical reading ability, or within a grade or so. And they're getting a lot of the information auditorily, but then they miss something. And rather than really putting a lot of extra effort into trying to figure out what it was they missed, they can glance toward the screen that has the captioning, look at what was just said, go, oh, that's what I missed, and then look right back up at the teacher. So most of the students who use InteractStreamer use it as a secondary accommodation to provide just that extra information that listening gap causes them to miss. So today's webinar, we're so glad you joined us. I haven't ever been as excited about Interact as I am right now. With the addition of this streamer and using this app, it's just so much easier and the accuracy can be really impressive. So your questions will be answered today because I'm sure you're coming in thinking, how does it work? You know, how can we do a trial? What kind of stuff do we really have to buy? How much is it going to cost? Where can I find more information? You'll have all that answered. Could it be suitable for my student? And you know, you're going to try it yourself. And hopefully you're going to do a trial with it if you're really interested and have a specific student in mind. And then what will it take for us to get a trial going? So supporting success for children with hearing loss has the mission of improving the futures of our kids. And by providing them full access in the classroom, providing them the ability to really level the playing field within that classroom setting, we believe it's a very important building block for their lifelong success. So I'm very happy to be partnering with Auditory Sciences and with Robert Palmquist. Rob is the developer of the Interact AS products, including the new InteractStreamer. He's worked really hard, and I can't even tell you how many updates there have been to the software over the years to get it to the place where it is right now. Rob does a wonderful job of describing the development and the implementation of this great accommodation. And I'm really excited to hear what he has to say today. So Rob, take it away. Tell us about Interact.
Well, thank you, Karen. I appreciate you giving those nice introductions. And actually, I was just on the phone with a customer, and the answer to the number of updates is 13,458. Believe it or not, I just had that conversation about a half hour ago. so I can answer that question for you. I'm going to increase the font size here a little bit. I think it's kind of difficult to see. So bear with me a second here, and we'll make that a little bit bigger. So I hope that's easier for you to read the captioning that's being displayed at the bottom of the screen here. The captioning is being done automatically by Streamer. And so there is no human in the loop here that's typing. Everything that we're saying is being automatically captioned by the software itself. And you can kind of see how it's doing this. And we'll go into a little more detail on how you can use this software yourself. I do like to start each presentation just giving a little bit of credit to the Marine Corps that made all of this possible. And so initially we were working with the Marine Corps on developing language translation systems. Specifically English into Arabic translation systems. And as a result of that success, they later came back to us and asked us to work with their wounded warriors. And so the percentage of Marines coming back from in-theater operations with hearing loss is absolutely staggering. Now, of course, we provide hearing protection for those Marines, but the reality is when they're in the field, when they're in the theater, they call that, if they're wearing that hearing protection, they lose what they call situational awareness, the ability to hear footsteps coming up from behind them. And in that type of scenario, situational awareness literally can mean a life or death situation. So they tend to not wear that hearing protection. And unfortunately, that 10 seconds worth of machine gun fire that happens right next to their ear results in a lifetime of permanent hearing loss. And so we were very glad to work with the Marine Corps on helping the wounded warriors coming back from their missions and to develop capabilities to assist them as they reintegrate into their daily lives here back in the United States. Another thing I want to mention real quickly is that this software, InteractStreamer, as a result of our pedigree of working with the military, is very secure. And so fortunately, today, you don't probably hear a lot about the student data privacy requirements. You will. That is something that is coming. And this software is very much compliant with that. So as you are looking for various software tools to help your students, this is one thing to start looking at. Is that software compliant with student data privacy requirements? Nobody wants their school systems to be hacked and all that information to be shared across the internet. So having a secure system is important, and that's something that is very much built into the software from the very beginning. We have, as I mentioned, a lot of updates to the software, continually improving it, continually listening to your suggestions. This is a bit of an eye chart, but certainly there are a lot of firms and organizations that have taken time to review our products. This is a rather recent one where the retail solutions providers, these are the folks that do all the testing for Walmart and Target and Best Buy, any sort of retail store that you walk into. And so they evaluated our products and came back giving us the award, and so we're definitely appreciative of that. Also, we recently received this award for the Best Education Technology Prize. So that's kind of cool. We sort of like that. As Karen mentioned earlier, this is very much a partnership. And so we are working with you to develop solutions that are best going to meet the needs of your students. And we take that very seriously, being able to listen to your ideas and your suggestions and using those to implement the features for the subsequent school year. So by far, the #1 request we had during the last school season was to make a version of Interact that runs on iPads and Chromebooks. And so we have done that. The new version runs on iPads, iPhones, Chromebooks, Android phones, Kindles, basically anything that can connect to the internet now can run Interact. So that's a huge improvement. So yes, we did that. The #2 request was to make installs and updates very easy to do. And so it's very common in a school setting that the IT department has not given you permission to do installs or updates. So every time there's something that changes, you need to contact somebody, give them the computer, schedule that time, take the computer out of the student's hands, get it updated. It's just a hassle, and it takes time. So what we did is we got rid of the whole concept of installs and updates. Now all you do is go to a website. There literally is no install that you're going to be doing anymore. All you do is go to the website. Third number of requests we had was to add a lapel microphone option, so we did that. And I'll be talking about some various microphone options later on. So that's done. And just a whole variety of additional languages. If we go back in time when we first started this, there were maybe 4 or 5 languages that were commonly requested. Now we're up to who knows how many. It's a lot. And so the number of languages continually, the request for the number of language continues to increase, and we have met that request, adding many additional languages to support our systems. So all of this results in the new release, which we call InteractStreamer. And so let's step into this a little bit, and I'll give you a quick demo here. Collapse these PowerPoint slides. And let me make the font size even a little bit bigger so it's easier for you to see. There we go. And so obviously I have the ability to change the font size and to increase this, just like a student would be able to do that in the classroom. So notice that all I'm doing is speaking here. I'm not typing on any buttons or having to tap anything. All I'm doing is speaking, just like you would be in the classroom. Everything that you're saying is being automatically transcribed. You can see that there's automatic correction happening. There's several steps that we do in order to effectively use context in order to generate an accurate translation. For example, if I say something like, please write your name right now, you can see how the word write is appropriately spelled. Again, I'll say that sentence once again. Please write your name right now. So in that case, the second and whatever that was, the 4th word is automatically transcribed to be the correct format, the correct spelling. You can also see that sentence and punctuation is automatically being added. So at the end of the classroom setting, what the student can do is download the transcript, and they'll be able to save that. This is not just one long run-on sentence or chopped up sentence fragments. We do have a neural net running in the background that is generating the punctuation for you. Again, I'm not saying the punctuation. I'm not having to type on a keyboard. There is no third person party in the background that's generating all this for us. This is all being done automatically, and all we did was go to the website. So if I wanted to download the transcript, I just come up here to the room settings button. I can click on download transcript, and with that I would indeed be able to download it. I won't do that right now, but that's as simple as it is to be able to generate that. Let me go back to some slides here, and I just want to talk a little bit more about some of the features that are going on here. So again, there is literally no install required. All you're going to do is go to the website. And at the end of this webinar, we'll show you how you can do that today and give it a try. So again, no install whatsoever. Once I do that, I click on the microphone to start captioning the speech. Let me move my window up a little bit here so you can see more of the captioning. There we go. And when I do that, it captions everything that I'm saying. It's real-time, contextual-based captioning and automated punctuation, not one long string of words. Within the software, you identify the person that is speaking. It is displayed in the left-hand column.
It's okay.
So if you are in a team teaching situation, or let's say you have a group of 5 students sitting around a table and they're talking with each other, the individual will be able to see who is saying what. And so that name is promptly displayed. We also support multiple speakers, simultaneous speakers, so you can have multiple people talking at the same instant. That's no problem whatsoever. You have the ability to send private messages to students. So for example, if you wanted to send a message saying, hey, are you paying attention? That's only going to be seen by that specific student. It's not going to be seen by everybody that's viewing the captioning. You can attach documents and send those to students. Also, if you're using the iPhone or an Android phone, you can take pictures and send those to students as well. That's a new feature that just got released this week. You can personalize your account using the various avatars or setting the languages. I'll show you that in a moment. Also built into it is the user guide. You can download the transcripts, as I mentioned, and also we support continuous voice synthesis. And so again, we'll get into some of these various features as we move forward in the slides. So let's talk about how a student is going to deploy this into the classroom, how it's typically done. So with each streamer subscription, what you get is a locked, secure room and an admin user account. You're going to use that admin user account to create as many student accounts as you want. So you can have a single subscription that can be shared by multiple students or multiple teachers. We'll get into that a little bit more as we go on. But again, with that single account, with that single subscription, you can create as many user accounts as you want. So again, multiple students, multiple teachers. You alone have the key to your room. You control who can access it, who can view the captioning, who can download the captioning. You can turn the download feature on or off. And you can set up translations. So if you had a family that would prefer to speak Spanish or Russian or Vietnamese at your IEP meetings, you can use this software to automatically translate whatever is being said. Again, you control who can use the system, who can see the captioning, who can save it, and many other features. So typically you have a teacher that's wearing a wireless microphone. It could be cable, but by far it's more common to have a wireless microphone. And you have a student with some sort of device that can connect to the internet. What that looks like is shown here. Now there's a very key point that I want to make here, and that's this student just fits in perfectly with the rest of the peers. There is nothing that makes this student look different. They have a device on their desk, just like many other students in this picture have a device on their desk, and there's really nothing else that's being seen. That can be very important for some students. They desperately want to fit in with their peers and not appear to be looking different. So with this system, that's part of what we can do. Again, this is the typical setup where you just have some device where you're watching the captioning. The requirements are pretty simple. You will want an internet connection of some sort in the room. Typically, that's a Wi-Fi internet, but it could be cabled if you really wanted to. Any device that can connect to the internet. So iPads, Chromebooks, those are two of the more common options, or a laptop. But it also could be an iPhone or an Android phone. All these are supported. Then on that device, you'll need some sort of port to connect to that external microphone. We do not want to be using the built-in microphones on these devices. The built-in microphones are just, well, to put it bluntly, pretty bad. And so we want to use an external microphone, and ideally that's going to be a wireless microphone. And that device needs to be running a Chrome browser. So those are, and Chrome is free. You can download it on any device. So again, the student will carry the tablets and the wireless mic to the room. They'll go to the website, view the captioning. They can add notes as the transcription is occurring wherever they want to, and save the transcript if you allow them to do so. Again, you can turn that capability off. And then they go to the next class. It's a pretty simple process to do. So let's make it a little more complicated. Now we have a team teaching situation. But again, it's the same sort of thing where you have two teachers, just like Karen and I are speaking, and the system is going to very readily support those multiple team teaching situations. Plus, you could have students with all sorts of devices, and they're all going to be able to see the captioning. So again, this type of situation where you have multiple teachers in the classroom, multiple students that are viewing the captioning, perhaps each using a different type of device, they're all going to be able to share that single license. So very affordable to be able to support this system.
I thought I would just jump in and show that it's very easy for this second teacher, in this case me, to be able to provide captioning with a very instantaneous switchover from you to me. Now I'll get it back to you, Rob.
That's right, and what you can see is the name is automatically displayed. And so if I stop talking here for a moment and highlight over my name, what you see is a picture of me, and here you can see a picture of Karen. And so it's a very nice way to be able to support multiple speakers in a given situation. Thanks, Karen. Now let's make things a little more complicated. So let's say you have a situation where one teacher speaks English, and perhaps we have another teacher that speaks his second language. So this was a real situation that happened up here in Minnesota, where they were having a, what's it called, complete Mandarin class, where this immersion, that's the word I was looking for, an immersion Mandarin class. And in that case, they could find teachers that spoke Mandarin, they could find teachers that spoke English, but they had extreme difficulty finding a bilingual Mandarin teacher. This is a real situation. And in that environment, perhaps you have students that speak all sorts of different languages. With this software, we can even support that type of situation. So 6 different user accounts, but they are all sharing the single streamer subscription. They're all in the same streamer room. Each student can personalize their streamer account, so it's going to translate whatever is being said, and then everyone responds using their preferred language. So let me show you kind of what that looks like. What I have here is Anna has set up her account so that everything that I'm saying in English will be translated into Spanish. And so what you're seeing is it temporarily displays temporarily displays what I'm saying in English, and then it quickly converts that over to Spanish. So it's a very easy way to be able to translate whatever you're saying. If I came up here to the room settings and turned on the continuous TTS, then in addition to having it being displayed in Spanish, you would also see it, or you'd also hear it in Spanish at the same time. They will respond in their native language, and you will hear whatever they're saying in English, and you can do this for lots of different languages. All I'm doing is coming up to the top here, selecting whatever language I want. For example, if I want to go to Japanese, I can do that, and when I do that, now, when this reboots, everything is going to be translated, in this case, into Japanese. It'll take a little while for it to catch up. There's a lot going on there. But certainly we can generate whatever languages you want and remove that language barrier. So this could be used for a student in the classroom, or more commonly for parents or guardians, somebody that would prefer to communicate in a language other than yours. Other situations where Streamer is being used, captioning of all school assemblies. So perhaps you're in a situation where you have 500 students in a gymnasium, and let's say 18 of them would want to view the captioning. Not a problem. You can do that using Streamer. If you have a situation where students would like to see morning announcements captioned, you can use the system to support that as well. Even though the students are no longer in the same physical room, they might be in 18 different rooms throughout your campus, they can all share that single subscription to Streamer and view the captioning of those morning announcements. You can combine this with Skype to support homebound students, certainly easily done, and again with English as a second language student. We will shortly be releasing the ability to, not quite automatically, but very close to automatically, captioning videos. And so if you are producing your own videos to support students in a homebound setting or whatever it might be, consider using this software to almost automatically generate the captioning for those videos. All right, so that's a lot of talk about Streamer itself. I do want to spend a moment and talk about the microphone systems. And so we have two microphone systems that we currently suggest that you use. One is the Nano system for $499, and the other one is the Dual system for $599. In both cases, you can order additional microphones if you want, the headset, the handheld, or as I previously mentioned, we now offer a lapel mic as well. In all cases, those extra mics are $99 each, or if you buy 4, you get the 5th one free. So that's equivalent to saying 5 for $396. Talk a little bit about the details of what's the difference between these two systems. With the Nano microphone system, you have one microphone input. So you can be using a headset or a handheld or a lapel mic. And again, these are all wireless microphones, but you need to select which one of those 3 microphones you'll be using at any given instant. Also with the Nano system, what you have is a single audio output. And so that is going to be connected to the computer, and that's how we're going to generate the captioning. Let's talk about the Dual now for a second. As the name implies, with the Dual, you have 2 microphone inputs. So you can have any combination of 2 microphones. So this could be 2 lapel mics, perhaps 2 separate teachers, each wearing a lapel. It could be, for example, a teacher that prefers to wear a headset and a small group of students that are using a handheld. Again, you can have 2 microphone inputs simultaneously to the same receiver, and you have 2 audio outputs. So one is going to connect to the computer, and the second one can then wirelessly connect to the student's hearing listening device. So that could be a hearing aid or a cochlear implant. What is really nice by being able to do this is now that student is able to have the wireless microphones wirelessly connected to their hearing aid or CI. So again, that's built into the Dual system, and so you're able to use that. Again, the Nano system, a very small receiver. All it is a USB thumb drive. Very easy to use. Just plug it in and you're done. There's no cables or anything like that. All right? The Dual system, 2 microphones connected. You can read the tricks there. In addition to this, we obviously also give you the carrying case and the battery chargers and something like this. Something brand new for the Dual system that we're just releasing now is a bracket that allows that Dual system to attach to the back of your iPhone or Android phone. So the Dual system is the same size as a business card, 2 inches by 3 inches. And with this bracket, what you're able to do is attach that to their device. And so now what they have is a completely mobile device that's going to use their data cellular plan to caption whatever is being said. So they could literally use this out on the soccer field or in the basketball court or wherever it might be that they are, as long as they have connection to their cellular network, they're going to be able to have a wireless microphone caption whatever is being said. Really nice system. Certainly adjustable. You can slide this up and down your phone, so there's no concern of burying or hiding the camera or something like this, or impeding the switches and buttons on the side. So again, a new system that's just become available this week, where we can take that dual system and allow it to be connected directly to a device.
Hey, Rob,
now with the
I wanted to just jump in and say this cool bracket isn't up on the Supporting Success website yet. That's probably not a surprise. But I also wanted to say, when school systems are looking at the different microphones, whether it's the handheld, the headset, or the lapel mic, some of the accuracy might relate to how close the mic is to that person's mouth, especially if it's a noisier environment. So a lot of teachers would really rather have a lapel mic, and for some teachers' voices, that might be enough, especially if it's a quiet room. Other teachers might not get that accuracy they need, and they would really need to give that headset mic a try to really go for that better accuracy. So just wanted to jump in and make my 2 cents worth known.
Oh, thanks. No, appreciate it. Anytime, Karen, by all means. Let's get to the total cost of your system. And so let's jump in on that one. Let's see here. Got to get to the right slide. There we go. All right. So the total cost of your system. The total cost for the software is $795 for the first year. And we're going to set up a separate website for your school. So you have your own private and secure room. We're going to show you how to set up the student accounts, all that above. And so we're going to do that for the first year for $795. And then the cost drops to $199 per year thereafter. And there are discounts if you end up purchasing 4 or more subscriptions. Well, if you purchase, 5 or more subscriptions, you get a 20% discount. 10 or more, you get a 25% discount. Bottom line, the more subscriptions that you purchase, the cheaper it becomes per room. So certainly there are discounts available. But again, $795 for the first year and $199 per year thereafter. And that's for an unlimited use subscription with an unlimited number of student accounts that you can create. It says 100 there. That's by default, but if you need more than 100, let us know and we're going to increase that for no charge. The microphone system, as we showed you, ranges from $499 to $599. If you want to purchase additional headsets, if you're going the route of using a headset, then we do recommend that you buy a separate headset for each teacher. Then 5 extra headsets would be $396. And then you're going to need some sort of device for this to run on. And so those range from $49 for a Kindle or a low-end Chromebook to whatever you want to spend, I guess. I put $900 as a high end. But we do not care whatsoever what type of CPU you have on this, how much disk space you have, or anything like that, because everything is being done in the cloud. And so in the past, buying a system with a i7 processor that could handle significant loads was important. Now it is not. All you're doing is connecting to the website, and we're doing all the heavy computing on our servers on our end. So it literally can be any sort of device that you have.
Before you jump in there, before I wanted just to say that people might be wondering if using an FM mic that the kid already is using, if we could just use that mic for the input for the captioning. And I believe you'll agree with me that although FM mics or hearing assistance technology mics are very good, they are not designed or optimized for speech to text captioning. So even though you could give it a try, the accuracy probably is not going to be as good as if you use the nano mic or the dual mic that we offer. Would you agree?
Yeah, totally. And so our systems are much higher fidelity than what Phonak or somebody else offers. And so I don't want to make that sound like the Phonak systems are bad. They're not. They just were not designed with speech recognition in mind, whereas ours are. So we operate at a much higher frequency range, higher frequency spectrum, I should say, than what your traditional FM systems are using. And we need that high fidelity in order to generate accurate transcriptions. So definitely we do recommend that you do use our system. And that's not because we're trying to make money off of selling you our systems. We really don't make any money off the microphone sales. We just want a system that works well for the student. Okay, let's get back into signing up for a 30-day trial. As Karen mentioned, we have very much set up this entire deployment that it encourages you to start with a trial. We do not claim anywhere that this is the perfect accommodation for every student. There isn't such a thing. You know, each student is unique in terms of their needs and preferences. And so what we would like you to do, strongly encourage you to do, is to start with a 30-day trial just to see how well it works for your particular student's needs. So what we've set up is the ability for you to rent a microphone system for $99. Now you're going to have to pay a return deposit on that microphone. Sorry about doing that. But when we first started sending these out for $99, nobody wanted to send back the microphones. And so we do start now charging a return deposit on whichever microphone system you select. Now, when you do that, you do get the full version of InteractStreamer. We're going to set this up for you. You can run that trial on as many computers, as many devices as you like. So allow the parents to use it at home. Allow the student to use it anywhere. Your coworkers, whoever you want to use the system, you are encouraged to do that. You can keep the microphone system for 30 days, and that's 30 days from the time it arrives at your facility. Not 30 days from when you place your order, or 30 days from when we ship it, or something like that. It's 30 days from the day it arrives at your facility. And to be honest, we're not like hard over. If it gets to 31 days, nobody's going to start complaining. But if you go significantly over, then you will be charged $5 a day. That just gets deducted from your deposit. If you decide to purchase the microphone, you owe nothing more because you've already paid the $99 plus that return deposit. So if you decide to keep it, we just do not refund that return deposit. We use that for your purchase. If you do return it, then your deposit is refunded. So there really is no reason to not start with a trial. You're not paying anything extra to start with a trial. So yeah, there really isn't much of a reason to not do that. So the way that you sign up for a trial is you go to the website. And I'm going to pull this over here, Karen, and maybe you can step through here.
Okay.
And,
while you're pulling it up, we had a good question written in by Patricia, and she asked if a single subscription can be used by multiple students at only one school or multiple schools. So can you make sure that's really clear in people's minds what you mean by a subscription and how that is used for one kid or when it can be used for multiple kids?
Yeah, no, that's a great question. And so what you get with your subscription is a private, secure room that you can use however you want to use that room. But it is a single room. So right now, if you're looking real closely, what we're in is a room called Supporting Success. That's the name of this particular room that we're in. And you will get a room, it's typically the name of your school, and you can use that single room however you want to. So if you have a student that's going to use captioning in the morning and a second student that's going to be using captioning in the afternoon, it's very easy for those two students to share that room. But now let's say you have a student that wants captioning in the morning and a second student that also wants captioning in a separate classroom. In that scenario, you're going to need two separate subscriptions to support those two students. Again, the reason being they want captioning live at the same time, but they're physically in two separate rooms. So I hope that makes sense. So again, you can use your room as often as you want, but with each subscription, you get a single secure streamer room.
In the case in the case of an assembly, the school would have like a room where they could use that room, and then all of the children who are at the assembly who want to just look at the captioning on their iPhones or whatever can just go to that one room. That's another.
That's right.
Okay.
Yep.
Just
yep, that's right. And so you could
really
have multiple students viewing the captioning in a single room. And so certainly that's all built into the capabilities of the software. Okay, let's get back to the trial. Karen, I'll let you take over the mouse here, and you can step through it and show them how they can sign up for a trial on the website.
Okay, well, this is the Supporting Success website. So it's successforkidswithhearingloss.com. And we put all of the information about Interact under products. So you can easily see it on the right-hand side. Scroll down a little bit. There it is. We have a number of pages about Interact, and just to step you through, the first one is general information. It also has a link to some videos that have been recently created that if you wanted just to go back and refresh yourself and maybe look deeper into a couple of things and get some clarification, you could probably look at some of the demo videos and get your questions answered. The candidacy for students, obviously not every student is a candidate. There's some information on this page that helps you better understand what a good candidate would be. And then there's also a speech-to-text candidacy checklist that a team can use as they're considering whether a particular student is a good fit for this to try. There's another page that is all about the microphone trial period, and it steps you through it very clearly, including if that student moved away during the trial period, or for whatever reason he first sounded excited, but when it actually came time he went, no, I'm not doing that, and the trial just wasn't going to be successful. That page also includes the address for where you would return that microphone. Again, we don't want you to buy something if it's not really going to be beneficial to that student. And then you always have to wonder, how are we going to assess whether it's truly beneficial or not? So here's a page that just describes some ideas for that. It's not all inclusive, but it's a way that probably the teacher or the deaf or whoever that key contact person is that works closely with that student, they can look at and try and get some ideas. We're going to really spend more of our time on purchasing, because this is where it seems most beneficial for people to see the information laid out at this particular time. Because once you get an idea for what the concept is, it might be exciting, but you need to feel sure about the money before you talk to anybody else. So this is the page you would go to. It talks about the 4 different options, and again, Rob talked about the $99 trial, how that first annual subscription is $795, and then that $199 per year for subsequent subscription years. At least that's how it is now. And then the Nano trial, remember, that's the one that looks like a thumb drive. This is the information about that. And then the dual microphone, so that's you can use it, even though it shows the handheld and the headset, you can also do the lapel and the handheld, or the lapel and the headset. And then we go into what the pricing really is, just to use the Streamer app and then getting your room. And then the microphones, if you wanted to, let's say you really had a good experience with this, and then later on in the year you had another student move in, or just another student came to your school study team and it seemed obvious, like, gosh, maybe this kid could really use captioning. We have a room, gee, maybe, this our primary student doesn't use it for 2 hours a day. How about if we give it a try for this kid? And it looks like, you know, we would really like to be able to just have another microphone for that use, whatever. If you want to head, if you're really impressed and just want to buy the microphones, this is what they cost outright, as are the headsets, and then the multiple purchasing options for those. The software upgrade, again, that's that subsequent year, and that's it. There's not a ton of other things that go into using this equipment. I wanted, though, to call your attention to Mike Matheny. Mike Matheny is a consultant who has worked with so many schools to help them implement the InteractAS or the InteractStreamer captioning system. He's one that really has a very good understanding and has answered lots of questions about how Interact is able to be used with different hearing assistive technology. And so that's the comfort level he has with that. So Mike Matheny is a really great go-to guy if, after you are done with this this webinar and you've looked at some demos and you have some specific questions, please give Mike Matheny an email, send him an email, and he gives very thorough answers by email, or you guys could set up a phone conversation. Mike's also the one that's going to be sending out the follow-up information after this webinar, including the slides. And did you get that recording done, Rob? Are we going to have a recording so that they can click on this?
Yes, I did. Actually, I remembered to click the record button. So I put a little Post-it note right in the center of my computer screen to remind me to do that. So let's hear it for the technology of Post-it notes.
Yay. So you're going to be receiving this follow-up email from Mike Matheny tomorrow, next day maybe. And so you'll already have his email address. So if you've talked to that parent, you've talked to the student, you've talked to the people that hold the money strings, whatever, and you have some specific questions, you already have Mike's email address to give him send him those questions so he can get back to you about this. I wanted to add just a couple of other thoughts. Sitting here listening to Rob's information and watching the captions streaming by, one of the things you probably don't realize, because you don't see the full transcript, is that when you are able to actually look at the transcript, the punctuation goes in just a little bit later than what you're able to see, this little portion you're able to see on the screen. So you might be feeling like, well, it doesn't do a terrific job with punctuation, but yes, it does. It just doesn't show up right in the few sentences that you see. But if once the child downloads the transcript or even looks up a little bit on the transcript as it's flowing, which is what he'll be able to do, right? He'll see that punctuation. One of the things that does happen, though, is when people clutter their speech, and I know I'm one for that. I put in a partial word and then I start another word. That's what a lot of the errors are about in the InteractStreamer when there are errors. I know from my point of view, the errors that come when I speak, a lot of it is from my cluttering my speech. Rob, you do a much better job about that than I do. So sometimes you'll see some teachers will have better accuracy than others, and it can just be attributed to this speech cluttering issue. So I hope we have answered a lot of your questions, that you have a much better understanding of just what Streamer is. You see that it's an app, and yes, we've designed it so that it really is simple to get into a trial period. Give it a go for 30 calendar days, and if you need a little more time, certainly Auditory Sciences, and we can extend that time a bit, but give it a try. and see if it works for your student, or get familiar with the equipment. Just also, if you're thinking about some of our staff members are hard of hearing themselves. We have quite a number of teachers of the deaf and hard of hearing, and they attend coordinating, deaf and hard of hearing team meetings, and it's very easy for that coordinator to use a microphone and have the captioning go to the different staff members right there during the meeting while they're attending, and just to really increase their access as staff members as well. So in case you hadn't thought about that. All right,
just wanted to jump in here real quick. As I promised earlier on in the webinar here, at the end I was going to give you a way to try Streamer for free. And so you can do this as a thanks for attending the webinar. And so we will be sending you this information, so you don't have to write it down, right away. But what you're going to do to try it right now, if you really wanted to, of course we have over 100 people here, so you may not all want to try it at once. But all you're going to do is open up a Chrome page on whatever device that you have and go to the website there. And you can sign on using the account demo and the password 123456. So when you do that, it's going to put you in this open, unsecured, unlocked room called demo. And I'm emphasizing the terms unlocked and open. So anybody else is going to be able to see what you're saying. So be nice, be polite. But you can try it for free. Just try it right away. So this is not an account that you would want to use to caption a classroom lecture, because again, people are going to be coming in and into that room and leaving it all sorts of times and giving it a try. But you're encouraged to give it a shot. Just try it. There's nothing to install. All you do is go to the website, enter the account demo and the password 123456. And when you do that, you'll be able to play with the software. Again, this is not a secure room. The demo room is open to the public, and we will be sending you that information. Here's some additional contacts that you have. And Karen, why don't you close it out here for us?
I will. I wanted to also offer my thanks for attending this webinar, and say that for any of you that need continuing education units, I would be happy to send you a certificate. As long as you send me an email. You can see my email address right there, Karen at. Send me an email just saying, hey, I attended, send me the certificate. It only applies to people who are listening right now, not if you share the recording with somebody else. And I need to receive your email by the end of Thursday. So just get that email off to me right now, and I will get everybody's certificates out by the end of Friday. We're not going to deal with certificates after that time. So this is the window you have to request your certificate, and that's all there is to it. You get 1 hour CEU for attending, and our thanks, and hopefully a lot of good information. Go ahead, go to the Supporting Success website for more information, and Mike Matheny will be following up with your email with the summary information. So thanks again, everybody. It's just so cool to have 100 or more of you join us on this webinar. Bye-bye now.